He could work wood, he could move dirt, as well as turn a wrench with great care and attention to detail. His tools were his treasures, and he willingly loaned them out with a watchful eye to their return to his tool cache. He was a get-her-done kind of guy. His famous last words were, "Make it work." In fact, one day, at the very end of his life, I was sawing with a circular saw, and I asked him to help me. And he said, "That's my saw." And I said, "I know." And he said, "Well, that blade there isn't the right one to use." And I said, "Well, can I have another one?" And he said, "Well, the other one's new, so no, you can't have it." I said, "Okay, then I'll just use this one." So he forgot what we were doing. He went ahead and helped me. So picture this guy with long curly hair playing drums in his Wednesday night band in Lake Geneva, with a cigarette hanging off his lip and a huge grin across his face. Smiling was Terry, and drums were food for his soul. That era was one of his favorite times of his life. Those band members were among the most dear friends in his life. When it was Terry's turn to cook, he cooked goulash, and he cooked it Terry style, and he added many more things than any of us ever did. He made a humongous pot of it, so we ate it for days and days, but it was so good. His sons, Keith and Doug, produced grandsons Owen and Jake with Keith, and Aubriana with Doug, who's not here today. Terry's mom, Florence, now 87, was at his side all through the last 5 months of his life, making sure he started his day with a different breakfast every day, his morning coffee, his meds, and a cheerful conversation. She greeted him with a bubbly "Good morning, Ter" when he woke up each day.
This is my words about my dad. He was a jack of all trades, and I think me and my brother both got that from him. He was a very passive guy, gentle, fun-loving, enjoyed movies and music, and as people my age don't typically really get into Boston, but that's my thing. I got it from my dad for sure. And you know, before I should have said that my brother wanted to be here, and he'll be in Wisconsin, and my mom also wanted to be here as well, and she'll be in Wisconsin as well. And she did come down with Carol to see him. Traits that I keep with me from my dad. Okay. I try not to let things get to me, which my dad was good at that, I think. I love music. I feel like I can fix anything. I love to feel free. Movies, you know, doing things that I want to do, motorcycles, things like that, where you feel free, wind in your hair. He did that. Laughter. I could get in a situation to create that laugh that he had where he wasn't even breathing. It was just so hard. And I enjoyed that. And I have that too. I can get to a point where something makes me laugh that hard. And those were good times. His kind nature, I take pride in that. And we all get thicker in the middle as a Hawver. So he gave me that too. Memories that I have, I have a lot of memories of the big brown Nova with the big wheels and the wooden steering wheel. And my dad tells me that I drove it into a garage when I was a kid. And for some reason, I think I can remember that. I was in diapers, I'm sure. But whether or not I remember it, he makes it clear enough where I remember it. He made it clear for me. My dad taught me how to ride a motorcycle, and I was 12, and I couldn't reach the ground yet. And he was on the back of it, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to let you drive now." And in Hawver style, I put that throttle as far as it'll go on the gravel road. My dad didn't swear at me a lot, but he swore at me that day. You're gonna kill us. He was. He let me ride on my own after that. What I really liked, or found interesting about my dad is we used to try and tickle him, and he decided one day that he wasn't ticklish. He told all of us kids that you can just decide and not be ticklish. And I do decide things like that. If I get an itch, I'm going to decide not to scratch it. And I think about him when he does that. I also remember the chili and the goulash, even the famous tomato soup noodles from Grandma. I have a lot of good memories about the band, and he did have that big smile when he played. My brother got to play with him, and he really appreciated that. I remember boating and tubing. You know, my dad would dive in and tell me to go in, and he didn't know if I could swim or not. And I appreciated that too. I spent a fair amount of time as a youngster at my grandmother's house, and spending time with my Uncle Pat and my dad. The stories that were told and the laughter was amazing. I won't forget it.
And Lily, of course.
When I was 10, maybe, my dad took me to a baseball game. It was the only one, and it rained out. But I was still proud. And it was the first day I found out that rain hurts when you ride on a motorcycle. I had a girlfriend I brought over when I was 14 or 13, somewhere around there. And she said, "Whoa, your dad's hot." I didn't know what to think about that, but I figured it was a good thing. That would grow in that way. He told me, when I told him I was getting married, that my wife-to-be would keep me out of trouble. And very sincere. My dad had a way of getting hurt. You know, he fell off the roof. He flew off his motorcycle. Countless other injuries, burned himself. But all of us kids making so much noise and being rowdy, and the worst thing he ever said to me was, "Cut it out," in his classic way. Cut it out. And then his Harley Davidson. You know, we rode that thing to the ground. He had a little Honda Spree or something like that. We'd ride it up to the store and back. So we had several, at least two. But I'm going to miss those times. I talked to my dad quite a bit since he was diagnosed, and he stayed the same all the way up.
Yeah, he did.
So I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, I met Terry at work, and he didn't have a vehicle, so in the mornings he asked me to pick him up. And right now, she was giving me a hard time. He was up just like Jesus, he's late again. And they always tell me, pick me up like 15 minutes before he had to be anywhere. That way he'd be there on time. He did that all the time. Like I'd be home, you know, and next thing you know, it's Terry. Hey, can you give me a ride? I'm here and I'm pretty tired, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't hesitate because anytime I need anything, he was always there for me.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even think twice. I was
No.
always, I must have done that half a dozen times.
He had a good nature. He was always easygoing, and like everybody else has said, he knew how to. If he didn't know, he'd figure out how to do it, and he did. He did a lot of work with us and for us, and he was a lot of fun to be around, and you know, good memories.
And he did a beautiful job. Every time I'd ask him to do something, you know, we want lights up in there, or we want something else in there, and he'd go to wiring it and putting the lights in and doing everything we asked him